That's sort of a bounty
He
gun.
said he fired to get us to stop. He didn't mean to hit me. And it wasn't much because the bullet just fell right out after a little while.
Charles Bronson. The name alone conjures images of grit, toughness, and a no-nonsense attitude Hollywood rarely sees anymore. He was the ultimate tough guy on screen, a man whose stony face and ice-cold stare could stop a villain dead in his tracks. But behind the camera, the man born Charles Bukowski was just as principled and, according to many, brutally honest. While most actors play the Hollywood game, Bronson was cut from a different cloth. A product of Pennsylvania coal mines and a World War II veteran, he had survived poverty long before stepping onto a movie set. That life instilled in him a powerful code: respect, discipline, and hard work above all else. He had no patience for egos or unprofessional behavior. Hollywood is often a town of manufactured friendships, but Bronson never played that game. He respected you, you had a colleague for life. If he didn't, he reportedly made no secret of it. For decades, whispers circulated about actors who got on his bad side. A popular legend claims that before he passed away in 2003, legendary tough guy revealed a secret blacklist of performers he truly despised. While no official handwritten hate list has ever surfaced, the stories told by those who worked with him paint a clear picture of the grudges he held. These weren't just passing disagreements. They were deep-seated resentments born from on-set clashes and fundamental differences in philosophy. Today, we're uncovering the untold stories and Hollywood lore behind Charles Bronson's legendary feuds. Coming in at number 6 isn't a single actor, but a whole style of acting that Charles Bronson reportedly viewed with contempt. In the 1970s, Bronson was a symbol of stoic masculinity. His persona was built on minimalist expression and raw physical presence, which he felt was the definition of true strength. So when Hollywood began to embrace a new wave of introspective, emotional, method-trained actors, Bronson was not impressed. According to Hollywood lore, he sneeringly referred to this new crop of stars as the sensitive generation. This group allegedly included actors like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, who rose to fame with tortured internal roles that critics adored. To Bronson, however, this wasn't art. It was self-indulgence. He reportedly mocked them, claiming they were all cut from the same cloth, brooding endlessly in ways he found interchangeable. For Bronson, it was a fundamental clash of philosophies. He saw them as symbols of a cultural shift that valued vulnerability over toughness. The very traits critics praised, like Pacino's explosive, raw humanity in films like Dog Day Afternoon, Bronson saw as a betrayal of the quiet strength he championed. He didn't believe an actor needed to become the character by plumbing their soul. He believed the character should either be in you already or not at all. This disdain was reportedly a principled stand. Bronson came from an older, more stoic school of acting where you didn't talk about your process. His life working in coal mines for $1 a ton had been his preparation. In his own words, he was only a product like a cake of soap to be sold as well as possible. He supplied a presence, an aura of danger that he felt was being lost. To him, the sensitive generation wasn't just making a different kind of movie. They were eroding the very definition of masculinity he had built his career on. At number 5 is an actor who seemed cut from the same tough cloth as Bronson, Lee Marvin. Both were World War II veterans who brought a hardened realism to the screen and co-starred in the 1967 war classic, The Dirty Dozen. However, the stories of a bitter feud between them are more complex than they appear. While some tales allege a deep-seated contempt, others suggest a solid, if complicated, friendship. During the filming of The Dirty Dozen, the set was famously chaotic. Lee Marvin, the film's lead, was known for his heavy drinking, which sometimes affected his work. One persistent rumor claims that a furious Bronson, who prized professionalism, confronted Marvin after he was late to set, with producers having to step in to prevent a fight. However, accounts from Lee Marvin's wife, Pamela, tell a different story. In her book, she mentions that when Lee was ill, Charles and his wife Jill Ireland called to offer their help. She also noted that Marvin turned down a Death Wish sequel, stating that's Charlie's role. Suspecting the studio was just trying to lower Bronson's asking price, the two did appear together again in the 1981 action film Death Hunt. And their joint interviews for the press tour are legendarily awkward, with a polite Marvin sitting next to a seemingly bored Bronson. While there was a clear clash between Marvin's wild unpredictability and Bronson's controlled discipline, the narrative of outright hatred appears to be an exaggeration. When Marvin passed away in 1987, Bronson did not attend the funeral, but this could be attributed to Bronson's reclusive nature and aversion to public events rather than pure animosity. Theirs was a relationship of two different kinds of tough guys. And while the ice between them was sometimes palpable, claims of a lifelong feud are largely speculative. The fourth spot on this legendary blacklist isn't an actor, but a director who, according to a persistent Hollywood rumor, committed an unforgivable sin. He publicly humiliated Bronson over one of his deepest insecurities. The man was Robert Aldrich, the acclaimed director of gritty films like The Dirty Dozen, and it was on the set of that very film that a thoughtless joke is said to have sparked a decades-long grudge. Charles Bronson built his career on an image of strength, but he was reportedly sensitive about his height. On the set of The Dirty Dozen, packed with tall actors, this insecurity was likely heightened. The story goes that for one shot, Aldrich intentionally placed Bronson between the two tallest actors in the cast, the 6 feet for Donald Sutherland and the 6'6" Clint Walker. The visual was meant to be comical, and as some of the crew chuckled, everyone laughed except Bronson. Aldrich. It may have been a harmless gag to lighten the mood on a tough shoot. To Bronson, it was allegedly a profound insult. He saw it as a public shaming, a director using his power to make him the butt of a joke. This single incident, though unverified, has become a defining piece of Bronson lore. The anger, supposedly, never faded, and it's been claimed for decades that Bronson never forgave Aldrich and refused to ever work with him again. While there's no official proof, this anecdote perfectly captures the image of Bronson as a man for whom respect was everything, for whom some lines could never be crossed. At number 3, we find a complex and legendary rivalry between two titans of cool. Steve McQueen. Bronson and McQueen starred together in The Magnificent Seven and The Great Escape, defining a new kind of anti-hero. But behind the scenes, a quiet war was reportedly brewing, fueled by professional jealousy. The tension is said to have started on the set of The Magnificent Seven in 1960. McQueen was already known for his habit of stealing scenes with small, calculated gestures, fidgeting with props, or adjusting his hat to draw the camera's eye. This famously infuriated the film's star, Yul Brynner. But it also grated on the intensely professional Bronson, who commanded presence through powerful stillness. The dynamic worsened during The Great Escape. While some sources claim the two were friendly, their wives were reportedly close. Others insist Bronson's respect for McQueen curdled. According to some reports, Bronson's resentment went deeper than on-set antics. As McQueen became a global superstar, Bronson often found himself in smaller roles, a disparity he felt deeply. Unverified stories claim that letters surfaced after his death in which he lamented how McQueen received premiere scripts while he fought for recognition. Another rumor suggests the rivalry peaked in 1979 at the Cannes Film Festival, where the two allegedly clashed, leaving McQueen with a mysterious black eye he blamed on a car accident. However, other accounts describe their relationship as a friendly, if competitive, one, with photos showing them clowning around. In a 1970 interview, Bronson allegedly called McQueen unprofessional. Yet it seems their dynamic was more a clash of styles than outright hatred. Rivalry rooted in professional respect and a shared battle for the spotlight. Number 2 on the list is perhaps the most surprising. The flamboyant British director Michael Winner. Together, they were a powerhouse, making 6 films, including the iconic Death Wish series, which finally made Bronson a #1 box office star in the U.S. Their collaboration defined the 1970s vigilante genre. But their relationship was a contentious dance between two vastly different personalities. Winner was everything Bronson was not: loud, extravagant, and a lover of glamour. Bronson was quiet, intensely private, and despised Hollywood phoniness. But their professional styles clicked perfectly. When Winner pitched Death Wish, he told Bronson it's about a man whose wife and daughter are mugged, and he goes out and shoots muggers. Bronson's deadpan reply was, "I'd like to do that." When Winner asked what the film, Bronson responded, "No, shoot muggers." Despite their on-screen magic, their relationship was filled with friction. Bronson was notoriously rigid with his contract, refusing to work a minute past 6:30 p.m. He was also insecure about his late stardom and reportedly refused to do a film with a major female star because he didn't want the competition. Winner had to navigate Bronson's complex personality. From his fear of germs to his refusal to stay in a hotel room above the first floor for fire safety. Over time, their creative partnership frayed. While Winner always spoke of Bronson with a mix of awe and frustration after his death, calling him a consummate professional but also a complex man, it's clear the bond had broken. Theirs was a quiet, bitter end to one of the most successful actor-director partnerships of the era. And now, the top of the list. The #1 spot on Charles Bronson's rumored blacklist belongs to the man whose feud with him was perhaps the most bitter and personal: James Garner. Their intense animosity began on the set of The Great Escape in 1963, and by all accounts, never thawed. This is the one feud with the most concrete evidence, thanks to Garner's own words in his brutally honest 2011 memoir, The Garner Files. James Garner did not mince words. Charles Bronson was a pain in the asterisk, he wrote flatly. He called Bronson bitter and belligerent, accusing him of using and abusing people on set. Garner, known for his laid-back charm, simply couldn't stand what he saw as Bronson's openly hostile behavior. He claimed Bronson carried a massive chip on his shoulder. According to Garner, the on-set tension boiled over into a full-blown confrontation at his home about a year after filming wrapped. During a poker game, Bronson lost a hand of about $50 to a young extra and allegedly tried to take back his losing bet. Garner stepped in, insisting he pay the young man. Garner wrote that Bronson became enraged, and though it didn't come to blows, the damage was done. After that night, Garner claimed Charlie went around swearing he'd never work with me again, and he never did. Years later, fate seated them at the same dinner table with their wives. The wives chatted pleasantly, but the two men sat in stiff, awkward silence, refusing to acknowledge one another. For Garner, Bronson wasn't a misunderstood tough guy. He was a bully and an enemy for life. Charles Bronson wasn't your typical Hollywood star. He was a man carved from hardship who survived the coal mines, World War II, and the treacherous film industry. He didn't care about fame or glamour. What mattered was respect, discipline, and his own code of honor. He never pretended to be something he wasn't and never suffered fools gladly. The names on his legendary, albeit unconfirmed, blacklists were all allegedly guilty of the same crime in his eyes: a lack of respect. Whether it was disrespect for the craft, the crew, or for him personally, Bronson was known for holding a grudge. His resentments weren't petty. They were the battle scars of a man who fought for his dignity his entire life. The man born Charles Bokinski spent his life trying to escape the shadow of the mines, but in many ways he built a fortress around himself that few were ever allowed inside. Love him or hate him, Charles Bronson stayed true to himself. And perhaps that's why, decades after his death, he remains such a fascinating and admired figure. He wasn't just playing a tough guy on screen. He lived it. What do you think? Was Bronson justified in his legendary feuds? Or was he just too difficult? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, look into old Hollywood's secrets. Be sure to like and subscribe for more untold stories.